Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable. Let your arms go heavy, your breath slow. And as you listen, feel free to leave a comment sharing what time it is, where you are, and what city or village you're listening from. It's love to know. And if you'd like more quiet stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe so they gently appear when you need them most. Now, let's begin. You close your eyes and the city feels quiet. But even in stillness, a current flows around you. Not water, not wind, not sound, something more elusive. It's an invisible ocean, rippling endlessly, filling every space you move through. This ocean is made of waves you cannot see, yet they pass through your body as easily as light through glass. The walls of your home cannot stop them, the streets cannot confine them, and the night sky cannot silence them. They move without friction, weaving themselves into every corner of life. Imagine the city as a vast bay, not of water, but of signals. Each phone, each tower, each satellite drips energy into the invisible tide. The air, once thought empty, now swells with frequencies layered upon frequencies. It is no longer a void, but a living, sea-dense, dynamic, endlessly humming. You are inside it right now. Your skin feels nothing. Your ears hear nothing. Yet as surely as you breathe, you are immersed. Think of a fish in water. The fish does not think of the water. It simply swims, unaware of the medium holding it, surrounding it, feeding the currents through its gills. In the same way, you rarely notice the electromagnetic ocean, but it carries the weight of every call, every message, every broadcast that ties lives together across impossible distances. Invisible signals cross over each other, a million paths tangled yet never colliding. Each wave has its lane, its frequency, its rhythm. Together, they create a harmony of silence chaos organized into order. And yet, silence is the word your senses insist upon, 'cause no matter how crowded the air becomes, you cannot hear it. The brain evolved to notice wind, to notice predators, to notice thunder. But not this. Long before you were born, the ocean was thin. The air contained only natural waves, the crackle of lightning, the slow pulses of Earth's own magnetic field, the whisper of solar winds streaming from the sun. These were gentle and irregular, not woven into human routine. Then, a few centuries ago, a change began. The first sparks of telegraphs bled into the atmosphere, lines clicking across continents. Sparks became signals. Signals became towers. Towers became networks. The ocean deepened today in every city. This invisible ocean is denser than the rivers that cut through concrete, denser than the highways filled with cars. From the tallest skyscraper to the quietest basement, you are inside it. Picture the morning rush of signals. Phones wake up before their owners do, exchanging silent greetings with nearby towers. Wi-Fi routers begin their daily breath, pulsing networks into kitchens and bedrooms. Radio stations hum, their waves spilling outward in steady ripples. Above, satellites blink, scattering thin threads of information across the globe. All of this happens before you step outside, before you open your eyes fully, before you even take your first sip of water. You are already swimming in it. Try to. Imagine what this ocean would look like if your eyes could see it. The night sky above the city would not be black, but veined with endless light. Signals would appear as ribbons, streaks, spheres, and grids, thousands of colors weaving through each other, from every window, every antenna, every roof. Waves would radiate outward like petals from a flower, overlapping, mixing, never ending, from far above. The city would resemble a lantern, glowing not with flame but with invisible threads of energy, pulsing outward in slow motion. To walk through it would feel like wading through rivers of light, and you would realize there is no silence at all, but your senses remain blind. And so you drift as if nothing is there. The silence you perceive is only the silence of human limitation. The signals move whether you notice them or not. Every call between friends, every weather update, every whispered voice carried across distance. All of it passes beside you, through you, unacknowledged. This ocean does not sleep. At 3 in the morning, when the streets are nearly empty, the waves continue to roll. Trucks still move, planes still fly, hospitals still call. The ocean is as constant as the tide, yet, unlike water, it never recedes. Even when a single tower powers down, another fills its place. When one router goes dark, another brightens. The ocean thickens with each year, growing richer, more intricate. It's more impossible to escape. You can no more step outside of it than a fish can step outside the sea. And yet, there is something soothing in this realization, because in this endless, invisible sea, you are never truly alone. You are linked quietly, constantly to the vast fabric of connection. The phone in your pocket, the signal above your head, the unseen pulse in the walls, they are reminders of how far human voices now reach. What was once a whisper, carried only as far as a human ear can hear, now stretches across continents, carried by a signal lighter than air. The science behind it is simple, though it feels mysterious. Electromagnetic waves ripple through space the way ripples move across a pond. Each carries a pattern of code that can be read at the other end. Code becomes sound or image or text, and though you cannot see the carrier, you can see its effect. Just as you cannot see wind, but can see leaves move. Your phone vibrates. Your computer glows. A song plays through the air, carried invisibly until it blooms into sound in your ear. The ocean is not an idea, it is physics, alive in every moment. Still, think of the paradox. An entire sea around you, and your body remains oblivious. The signals brush past your skin without stirring it. They pass through your lungs, your bones, your heart, as if you were transparent. You stand inside an ocean, but your senses insist on land. The silence of this sea is what makes it so strange. Unlike rivers, it has no roar. Unlike rain, it has no patter. Unlike fire, it has no crackle. It does not erode rocks, does not soak soil, does not cool skin. It only passes through, and yet it carries more weight than all the oceans combined. The weight of human thought, it's human memory, human longing. The sea you swim in is not made of water, but of messages. Consider the story of a single message. Say, a voice call. You lift your phone and speak. Your voice is broken into patterns of energy, coded into signals. The signals leap into the air, caught by a tower, carried to another tower, bounced into the sky, relayed downward until they bloom again into sound in someone else's ear. All of this in less than a second. All of this happening inside the ocean, unseen. Multiply this by billions of calls, billions of messages, billions of signals moving simultaneously, and the scope of the ocean begins to take shape. Scientists can measure it. Instruments can detect the hum, the frequencies, the density of waves. Charts can show the spectrum from the low rumble of radio to the high crackle of microwaves. Call stacked like notes in a scale. But you do not need to see the chart to sense the truth. The air is not empty. And what of you? You are not merely inside the ocean, you are part of it. Your phone, your Wi-Fi, your devices all send out their own ripples. Every time you tap send, you add a drop to the tide. Every time your alarm goes off, it is the sound of a wave returning from the ocean. You are both swimmer and source, both immersed and contributing. So, tonight, as you lie in bed, remember, the silence you hear is not silence at all. It is a sea of signals, restless, ceaseless, connecting lives in invisible currents. Somewhere, a ship on the coast sends a message inland. Somewhere, A satellite hums above clouds. Somewhere, a stranger sends a note that will arrive in someone's hand in seconds. All of it flows through you without pause. The invisible ocean is both fragile and unbreakable. Fragile because a storm, a blackout, a malfunction can disrupt it. Okay. Unbreakable because the need to connect is constant, and new waves always rise to replace the old. The ocean is the sum of human desire to reach, to share, to be heard. And though you cannot hear the waves themselves, you hear their echoes every day. Close your eyes. Imagine the ocean again, not of water, but of signals. Imagine its depth, its endlessness. Imagine it glowing faintly, rippling outward from every rooftop, every device. And then imagine the very first drop that began it, all the first spark of human electricity. The first signal that slipped into the air. That first ripple began long ago, and it leads us onward. Asterisk, the invisible ocean you float within did not appear all at once. Like every sea, it began as a drop, a single spark, flicker of light and electricity that humans first coaxed into carrying thought. Before this spark, voices traveled only as far as ears could hear. A cry across a valley, a story told by firelight, a message tied to a horse's saddle, or a letter folded into an envelope and carried across oceans. Distance was a barrier. Communication was tethered to time, to weather, to chance. But then came the first spark, small, fragile, electric. They seemed like novelties at first, tricks of metal and wire, yet they unlocked something hidden in the air, something that would ripple outward for centuries. It began with a telegraph. Wires stretched like veins across continents, linking cities and straight metallic lines. The telegraph did not use voice or sound. Instead, it reduced words to pulses, short and long clicks, dots and dashes, like the heartbeat of language. Imagine the silence of a distant railway station in the 1840s. A machine clicks softly in the corner, its needle twitching, tapping out a rhythm. Each tap is a fragment of a sentence traveling across hundreds of miles of wire. Somewhere else, a hand records the pattern, and the message blooms back into words. It was not sound, not yet, but it was the first hint that thought could travel faster than footsteps. Those first sparks were humble, yet revolutionary. A single line could replace days of waiting. A message could travel from one city to another in the time it took to blink. The invisible ocean had not yet filled, but the shorelines were beginning to glisten. Still, the telegraph was tied to wires. Iron lines had to be laid down, poles hammered into the ground, connections meticulously strung. Voices could leap, but only along these narrow pathways. The real transformation came when sparks began to leave the wires behind. A man named Heinrich Hertz once proved that invisible waves existed. In the late 1800s, he built machines that sent small sparks across a gap, producing tiny electromagnetic ripples. With a loop of wire, he could detect those ripples at a distance, even without a connecting line. It was proof the air itself could carry messages. The discovery seemed abstract at first, a scientific curiosity, like watching a candle flicker in a glass box poured. It planted the seed for everything to come. Because if sparks could leap through air, then voices could, to Dr. Guglielmo Marconi. A young man fascinated by this invisible potential imagined more. In the 1890s, he built his own transmitters and receivers. His machines used sparks to send out electromagnetic waves that could travel across fields, across hills, across seas. At first, the signals were simply a spark here, a code there, but each experiment stretched further. The distance grew. Then one day, the waves crossed the Atlantic for the first time in history. A human signal leapt across an ocean, traveling not by ship, not by letter, but through the invisible air itself. Picture that moment. A small machine on one coast sparks to life. The signal lifts, arcs, and disappears into the sky. Out in the middle of the Atlantic, waves crash against ships that know nothing of this invisible thread passing over them. On the far shore, another machine receives the signal. A spark dances across metal. The code emerges. Two continents, once separated by weeks of travel, now share a moment in time. The ocean of silence had been breached. The first real waves of the invisible sea rolled outward. Soon, towers began to rise. Tall wooden and steel structures stretching into the sky, sending signals further and further. The earth was no longer bound by wires alone. The first sparks had grown into flames. Lighting beacons in the air. Radio was born for the first time. A human voice, living breath, living tone traveled without a wire. In the early 1900s, radios crackled with voices that seemed almost ghostly. As families gathered around wooden boxes, listening as disembodied sound filled their rooms. A singer in one city could be heard in another. A news announcer's voice could cross borders. The invisible ocean was no longer just a metaphor. It was alive, tangible in its effect. It reached into homes, shaping evenings, connecting strangers. Imagine the wonder of those first listeners. You sit in your living room. The air is quiet. Then a machine hums, and suddenly a voice fills the space. A man reading the news, a woman singing an aria. Music spilling out of the night as if conjured from nothing. Where before, entertainment lived in concert halls or theaters, now it floated through the air into every home that had a radio. The invisible ocean deepened, filled with voices, songs, stories. Each tower added a new ripple. Broadcast layered another current into the silent sea. The sparks spread quickly. Ships at sea could now call for help, sending distress signals through the air. Armies could communicate across battlefields. Nations could broadcast messages to their citizens. The ocean of signals was no longer just about convenience. It was about survival. A single spark could summon rescue, could deliver news of war or peace, could change the fate of thousands. Yet, to those living in the early 20th century, it was still a kind of magic. Invisible energy flowing silently, shaping lives while remaining untouchable. The 1920s and 1930s brought radio into full bloom. Music, stories, speeches all carried on waves, saturating the atmosphere. Radios became common in homes as ordinary as lamps. Towers multiplied, their steel frames piercing the skyline. And with each new tower, the chorus of voices grew louder, more layered, more constant. The invisible ocean was becoming crowded, but before the crowd, there was still awe. Imagine yourself walking through a city street in 1935. Every window glows with the warm light of radios. Inside, families lean close to the speakers, listening together. The same voice echoes from apartment to apartment, block to block, binding a city into one shared moment. The sparks had grown into a symphony, and yet each spark still held fragility. Static interrupted signals. Distance blurred clarity. Storms interfered with waves, but the sparks were persistent. They leaped further, stronger, more precise with each passing decade. Electric sparks became organized, disciplined, refined into frequencies. Engineers learned to tune the ocean, to divide it into channels, to orchestrate it like instruments in an orchestra, from telegraph clicks to human voices. The invisible ocean was filling, thickening, expanding. Every new spark was a reminder of what was possible, and all of this, every tower, every voice, every song, merged from that first realization that sparks could leave wires, that the air itself could carry thought. Pause for a moment. Feel the quiet around you. Imagine it filled with nothing but silence, the way it was before those first sparks. And then, let yourself sense the hum that now surrounds you. All of it began with a flicker in a laboratory, a leap of imagination across wires, a belief that distance could be conquered. The sparks became signals. The signals became voices. The voices became networks. And the networks became the vast ocean you swim in today. As you drift deeper into this chapter, you realize that each spark is still here, echoing in the ocean. The telegraph clicks, the first radio calls, the long dashes of Morse, they are all woven into the story of the air itself. The waves never truly vanish. They become part of the layered chorus. And that chorus, humming across cities, is where the journey takes you next. Asterisk, the first sparks gave birth to voices that leapt into the air. Radios carried songs across oceans, news across borders. But soon, those fragile beginnings multiply. The quiet skyline of cities changed. Towers rose. At first, they were rare, lonely structures, steel skeletons planted into the earth, their arms reaching skyward. But as the decades pass, they multiplied, spreading across neighborhoods, highways, mountaintops, even deserts. Each one added its own hum to the air. Each one joined the choir of the invisible ocean. Now, wherever you go, towers follow. They line the highways. They hide in church steeples, painted to blend into the sky. They sit on rooftops in clusters like watchmen. If you look carefully, you notice them everywhere, quiet sentinels, pulsing signals through the day and night. And, together, they sing. Picture a city at dawn. The streets are nearly empty. The sky glows faintly, the horizon still holding shadows. And yet, the city is already awake because the towers never sleep. Each tower breathes in rhythm, sending out signals in invisible ripples. The hum is constant but layered. One tower speaks to another. One frequency carries calls, another carries text, another carries the endless traffic of the internet. They overlap, but they do not drown each other out. They arrange themselves like a choir, some voices high, some low, some steady, some fleeting. You cannot hear it. But the city is never silent. Imagine standing at the center of an intersection. Cars idle at the red light. A bus hisses as it brakes. A few people shuffle past. Above you, invisible waves crisscross the air. One message passes from a phone to a tower, from that tower to another, and onward to its destination. Another message streams music into someone's headphones. Another pings directions from a satellite down into a driver's dashboard. Dozens of signals flow around you at this very second, layered on top of each other. If your ears could hear them, the air would not sound like silence, it would sound like a chorus, a dense harmony filling every gap. But to your senses, it is nothing at all. The towers hum, and you drift through them unaware. The science behind this chorus is as intricate as it is elegant. Towers divide the invisible ocean into slices, frequencies that carry their own unique melodies. Like sections of an orchestra, each frequency plays its role. Low frequencies travel far, bending around hills, slipping through walls. They are the bass notes of the invisible song. Higher frequencies carry more information, but travel shorter distances, like violins shimmering only close by. Together, they form a layered composition, a harmony of silence. As technology advanced, the number of towers grew. First, there were radio towers, tall giants broadcasting to entire regions. Then, television towers carrying pictures through the air. Later, cell towers sprouted everywhere, each one smaller, closer, more numerous. With every new wave of technology, the chorus deepened. 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Each added new layers of sound to the silent song. Each filled the air with more intricate harmonies. The ocean grew louder, denser, though you could not hear it. Pause for a moment. Imagine the city not as buildings and streets, but as a forest of towers. Each tower glows faintly, its signals radiating outward like rings in a pond. When the rings overlap, they do not clash, they blend, forming patterns of invisible resonance. From far above, the city would look like a pool of rippling light, towers flashing, waves pulsing outward, each one layering into the next. The streets and people would be submerged in the glow, every breath, every step inside the chorus. And yet, you move through it casually. You carry the ocean in your pocket. Every time your phone connects, it sends a request upward into a tower, which answers back with its hum. You do not notice, but the exchange is constant. Even as you read, signals are flowing through you. Even as you breathe, towers are calling and responding. There is beauty in the quiet discipline of it all. Imagine a choir singing without end, each voice timed perfectly, never colliding. That is the work of towers. They divide the chaos of countless signals into orderly song. Engineers tune the frequencies, just the spacing, prevent the voices from overlapping too harshly. The result is not noise, but structure. A million signals layered into harmony, and all of it is happening silently, invisibly, around you right now at night. When the city's lights dim, the towers do not rest. Some of their work becomes clearer, messages travel while people sleep, updates, downloads, silent handshakes between machines. The towers hum steadily, their voices weaving together across the sleeping city. Somewhere, a late-night nurse checks a patient's chart, and her tablet quietly communicates with a hospital server. Somewhere, a truck driver speaks through a headset, his voice carried by towers across miles of dark highway. Somewhere, a teenager sends a message at 2 a.m., and a tower hums it across town in a second. The city seems still. The towers keep singing. If you could slow time, you might notice the endless conversations in the air. One signal leaps from the tower to tower like a bird flying between trees. Another moves outward in widening circles, searching for a receiver. Another flows upward toward a satellite, which bounces it back down into another tower far away. At full speed, it is a blur, invisible. Storm, but slowed down. It is a careful dance, a measured exchange. Each signal knows its place, and the towers, always humming, keep the rhythm. There are places where the chorus falters, rural stretches where towers are far apart, remote mountains where the signals grow faint, dirt where silence lingers longer. But even there, the chorus tries to reach. New towers climb ridges, satellites extend their threads. Low-frequency signals travel farther to fill the gaps. The choir strains to be complete, to include every voice, and with each passing year, fewer places are silent. The ocean grows deeper. The chorus grows louder. You might wonder what this means for you, this endless chorus, this silent song. In truth, it surrounds you so completely that you often forget it exists. Yet, it holds you in its grasp. Without the chorus, your voice would stop at your throat, your message at your hand, your thought at your mind. The towers make your voice weightless. They lift it into the air, carry it across the horizon, release it into another ear. They transform silence into connection. You are part of their song. Consider this. Each tower carries countless stories every day. A farewell call, a joyful announcement, simple map guiding someone home. Each story is woven into the chorus, invisible yet present. If you could listen not with ears, but with something deeper, you would hear not just noise, but humanity itself, flowing endlessly. The chorus is not mechanical. It is emotional. It is every laugh, every cry, every whisper carried across distance. The towers are instruments, but the music is human and still. The towers hum on, night after night, day after day, never pausing. Their silence to you is their song to each other. They do not need you to notice. They only need to carry the voice you send, the message you give. the spark of connection you release. Their loyalty is quiet. Their presence is constant. The chorus is eternal. So the city hums, even when you sleep, even when you believe it is quiet. The towers sing endlessly, and as you sink into that awareness, the hum of towers fades into something more intimate, because the next layer of the invisible ocean is not the towers above, but the signals inside your very walls, the small pulses of Wi-Fi that breathe quietly through your home. Asterisk, the towers outside sing in their vast chorus, their signals washing across entire cities. But inside your home, the song grows softer, more intimate. It hums, not from steel giants standing on hills, but from a small box, often forgotten, often tucked into a corner. The Wi-Fi router, it does not rise like a tower. It does not blaze with visible light. It sits quietly, its plastic body plain, its lights flickering softly. And yet, it breathes, hails, signals into every room, weaving invisible threads that hold your life together. You may not notice it, but the router has a rhythm. Every second, it sends out pulsatini packets of energy, coated with possibility. These pulses are not random, they are carefully shaped, sculpted waves that carry meaning. They leave the box, travel outward, slip through walls, through floors, through ceilings. If your eyes could see them, your house would glow like a lantern. Every wall would shimmer faintly, as if covered in rippling water. Every object would be bathed in transparent layers of light. But to your senses, the air remains still. The walls remained blank. The house remained silent. Pause for a moment and imagine your bedroom, the bed where you lie, the lamp at your side, the window holding the faint glow of the night. Now imagine those walls, invisible waves breathing through them. The waves slip past your skin, past your blankets, past the curtains. They pass through as if nothing is solid at all, and yet they hold, they carry, they bind. The science is simple, but it feels like magic. Fi's radio, reshaped into whispers, too fast for your ear to follow. The router takes signals from wires or fibers connected to the world, and it translates them into waves that fill the air. Those waves spread outward like ripples in a pond. Your phone, your computer, your tablet teach, listens. They tune themselves to the waves, catch the coded ripples, and translate them back into meaning. Words appear on screens. Songs flow through speakers. Images brighten into life, all because of a small box in the corner, breathing invisibly. Think of the quiet rituals this breath enables. A child streaming a cartoon in the morning, laughter spilling into a kitchen, a student pulling information from distant servers, the invisible waves stitching knowledge into a mind, a parent sending a message across the globe, words traveling invisibly from one wall to another, one house to another, one life to another. The router does not move. It does not speak. But it makes these moments possible. Asterisk. Unlike the giant towers, the Wi-Fi signal is fragile. It fades quickly with distance. It grows weaker when it meets thick concrete, metal, or water. Even your body can block it, absorbing its energy, bending its reach. And so, the walls of your home are painted unevenly by this invisible brush. One corner glows brightly with waves. Another corner grows faint. One room fills easily. Another struggles. Yet the router persists. It breathes out again and again, tireless, steady, like a heart, like a rhythm, like a song without end. If you could see it in motion, your living room would be alive with movement. Waves swelling outward, layers overlapping, packets of data flying, bouncing, scattering, then recombining into meaning. It would look like a sea inside your walls. It's endless ripples moving in all directions, filling every space, shaping themselves around every object, and using in a chair. Lying in bed, Walking down a holly would look like a figure submerged in invisible water. The waves would pass through you, unhindered, unnoticed. The router does not judge what it carries. It does not choose joy over sorrow or laughter over grief. It carries all of it equally. A message of love, a headline of tragedy, a quiet song played to soothe a restless night, a sudden alarm sent to warn of danger. All of it passes through the same invisible breath, treated without preference, without pause. Inside the home, Wi-Fi becomes a kind of hearth. It is where families gather not around fire, not always around food, but around the invisible glow of connection. It binds rooms together. It connects walls that would otherwise remain separate. One person upstairs streams music. Another downstairs watches a movie. Another in the kitchen searches for a recipe. And all of them, though apart, are tethered by the same invisible threads. It is not warmth, but it feels like warmth. Not light, but it feels like light. Not sound, but it feels like company. And yet, the router remains silent. No grand architecture. No visible flame. Only quiet blinking lights, like tiny eyes watching, like a heartbeat visible in plastic. You forget it exists, most of the time, till the breath falters. There are moments when the invisible pause stutters. The video pauses. The call drops. Tias refuses to load. Suddenly, silence becomes noticeable. You realize how much of your life depends on this faint, invisible hum. How much of your comfort is tied to a signal you cannot see. How much of your world flows through the walls, not around them. And when the breath returns, when the video resumes, when the message sends you feel relief, though you cannot touch the reason why. The router is a miniature tower where the city hums with fast choirs. The home hums with whispers. And just as choirs can grow loud, whispers can be just as powerful when they are constant, when they are steady, when they are always present. Think of the router as a candle in a room. The flame is small, but its glow fills the walls. It makes the space habitable. 8. Makes the darkness less silent. There is poetry in how the waves behave. They reflect from mirrors, scatter around corners, slip through windows, bounce off ceilings. They twist and bend, creating shadows of signal, the way light creates shadows of form. In one corner of your home, the signal shines brightly. In another, it fades like a candle seen from far away. And so, people move their chairs, adjust their devices, lean closer to windows chasing invisible light. Wi-Fi waves are small, but they are countless. Billions of them cross your walls each second. Each carries a fragment of meaning, a single word of a message, a single note of a song, a single frame of a movie. Alone, they are incomplete. Together, they are whole. You never see the fragments. You only see the finished picture, the completed sound, the message as if it had always been whole. But behind it all, the router breathes fragment after fragment, never pausing, never resting. Even as you sleep, the breath continues. Your phone syncs, your tablet updates, your clock pulls time from distant servers. The router does not stop when you stop. It hums all night, weaving threads between you and the wider world. And in that hum lies a strange intimacy. Because the breath of Wi-Fi is not just about work or entertainment or routine. It is about presence. Even in the darkest hour, even in the stillest night, the house glows faintly with invisible connection. But signals are restless. They do not remain confined to towers or routers. They pass through walls, through streets, through bodies. They drift into bedrooms, into pillows, into the spaces where people sleep. And that is where the invisible chorus takes on a new shape. The relationship between signals and the body at rest. Because even as you dream, waves keep moving. They do not stop at the edge of consciousness. They pass through sleep the way they pass through walls. And so the question arises, what does it mean to slumber inside a silent ocean of signals? Asterisk, the day is over. The towers, outside, continue there. Chorus, the router in your home still breathes its soft, invisible glow. And now you lie down, surrendering to the pull of sleep. But even here, even in the quiet of night, the invisible ocean does not stop. 8. Flows across your room, through your walls, through your resting body. The signals keep moving, as tireless as tides, as persistent as breath. Imagine your bedroom as it is now. The pillow beneath your head, the blanket across your chest, the faint hum of appliances, or the soft silence of the night. Now, picture the air, alive with currents. From the corner, your Wi-Fi still exhales. From the street, towers still beam. From far above, satellites still send threads of lightless energy down toward the earth. The room looks still, but unseen waves pass through it like rivers under ice. As you drift into drowsiness, your body softens, muscles loosen, thoughts scatter. The mind floats toward dreams. Okay? And while you surrender, the signals do not. They continue their quiet labor, their endless circulation. Every message someone sends at this moment flows invisibly across the air, perhaps even brushing through your room on its journey elsewhere. A voice call from across town, a late-night message across the ocean, a stream of music that plays while someone else lies awake. They all cross, overlap, pass through, and move on while you sink deeper into sleep. There is something humbling about this, because sleep feels private, contained, like a retreat into silence. And yet, while your body lies still, you remain immersed in connection. The ocean does not part to give you solitude. It simply moves around you, through you, carrying voices you will never hear, stories you will never know. You dream in silence. But outside that dream, a chorus hums. Science tells us that electromagnetic waves pass through the body easily. They move through your skin, your bones, your lungs, as if you were transparent. Your cells do not block them. They simply allow them to slip past, unnoticed. So, as you sleep, the waves pass through you, countless signals traveling across your resting form. Some are low and slow, others quick and sharp, but all of them move without pause. You are porous to the invisible ocean. Your bed is porous. Your walls are porous. You lie at the bottom of a sea without resistance. If your senses could awaken to this chorus, what would it feel like? Perhaps like 1,000 overlapping whispers. Perhaps like the sound of wind weaving through branches. Perhaps like soft music, layered upon itself until it becomes pure tone. But you do not hear. Your brain does not translate. Instead, you drift, untouched by the noise. The silence of your sleep is not the absence of sound, it is the absence of perception. The waves still move. You simply cannot feel them. Dreams unfold while signals cross. You wander through landscapes of memory. You speak to faces drawn from the past. You see images that dissolve upon waking, and through it all, waves keep flowing. Some carry news of breaking events. Some carry joy from one person to another. Some carry sorrow. Some carry simple fragments of life, a shopping list, a song lyric, a photograph of a pet, while your brain invents its own stories in sleep. The invisible ocean carries the world's stories past your walls. There is a strange poetry in this contrast. Inside you, the dream. Outside you, the hum. Two oceans moving at once. One of imagination, one of signals. You drift on both. Sleep researchers speak of how the brain itself produces waves, slow ripples of electrical rhythm that mark the stages of slumber as you fall deeper into rest. The brain's currents shift, moving from quick sparks of waking thought into long, steady pauses of sleep. In a way, your own mind becomes part of the larger pattern. electrical waves within, electromagnetic waves without. Two seas overlapping, the private rhythm of the body and the public rhythm of the world. You are a coastline where they meet. Consider how many people sleep at this same moment. It's millions across cities and countries, lying in their beds while the invisible ocean washes over them. Each home glows faintly with Wi-Fi. Each neighborhood hums with towers. Each sky is streaked with satellites. Together, all these sleepers are like islands in a connected sea, alone in their dreams, yet linked by the same invisible tide. No dream is shared, and yet all are crossed by the same signals. You might wonder, do these waves affect the body as it sleeps? Science studies the question, measuring, testing, observing. The results remain debated, nuanced, subtle. But regardless of the answer, one truth remains certain. The waves are present, whether you notice them or not. The room is never empty. Sometimes, when you wake in the middle of the night and check your phone, you see proof of the chorus. A message has arrived. A notification blinks. Somewhere, someone sent words across the ocean of air, and they crossed through your walls, settled into your device, and waited quietly until you opened your eyes. Even as you slept, you were part of the network. Even in unconsciousness, the ocean touched you. Imagine lying in a cabin far from the city, deep in a forest. The night outside is utterly quiet. The only sounds are wind in the branches and the occasional rustle of an animal moving in the dark. And yet, if you bring a radio, you'll hear voices, songs, transmissions. The invisible ocean reaches even here. Satellites beam down, towers stretch, their voices across the hills. Wi-Fi signals glow inside cabins and tents. Even in the stillest silence, the hum persists. There is comfort in this. Even when you feel most alone, the invisible ocean reminds you, you are connected. Even in sleep, you belong to a network larger than yourself. Every night, signals flow through you that you will never know. They connect people you will never meet, carry voices you will never hear, deliver messages you will never read. Still, they touch you, if only in passing. The ocean is indifferent, but it is also constant. And constancy can feel like safety as you sink deeper into the rhythm of sleep. Remember that you are not cut off. You are not an island. You are part of the current, part of the endless hum. Your dreams are your own, but the ocean flows through them, weaving unseen patterns across the fabric of night. So let the signals pass. Let them move around you, through you, above you. Let them carry their voices while you carry your dreams. 4 in the morning, when you wake, the invisible ocean will still be there, quiet, tireless, humming. It will greet you with messages, with news, with connections. But for now, it sings over your sleep. And while you rest, the ocean is already sketching something larger, an unseen web, a hidden map that overlays every city and every home. A map made not of streets or rivers, but of signals. A map that waits for you in the next moment of waking thought. Asterisk, when morning arrives, the invisible ocean is already alive. Even before you stir, before you open your eyes, the signals have been moving, crossing, overlapping dot, and beneath it all lies a structure and unseen geometry that shapes the modern world, a hidden map. This map is not made of streets or rivers. It is not drawn in ink, nor carved into stone. It exists only in the endless weaving of signals. Towers calling to phones, routers breathing through walls, satellites shining down threads of invisible light. Together, they form a web so intricate that it covers every corner of modern life. You cannot see it, but you live inside it. Imagine lifting yourself above a city. It's floating higher and higher until the buildings shrink below. First, you see only the familiar grid of streets, the threads of highways, the curve of rivers. But then imagine your vision changing instead of concrete and water. You begin to see the signals. Lines of light rise from towers, spreading outward in circles. Small ripples radiate from every home, every router. From above, satellites send down beams like invisible spotlights. The city glows, not with lamps and headlights, but with waves, threads, and currents of energy, overlapping, crossing, intersecting an entire geography, invisible to the human eye. This is the hidden map. Every call you make draws a line on this map. Every time you send a message, a point lights up. Every purchase, every search, every song streamed is another mark on the web. Individually, each signal is fleeting. Together, they reveal the shape of modern life. The hidden map does more than reflect where people are. It shapes how they move, how they act, how they live. Traffic lights adjust based on patterns of signals. Buses and trains follow schedules woven into the network. Stores restock according to invisible flows of data. Hospitals receive alerts instantly when emergencies happen. The signals do not just describe the city, they create it. Pause for a moment. Look around your own room. What seems like an ordinary object to our phone, your computer, your tablet are, in fact, gateways into this map. When you press a button, you draw a new line across it. When you search, you leave a trail. When you send, you add another thread to the weaving. You are both inside the map and shaping it. Consider how the map grows denser each day. In the early days of telegraphs, it was only a few lines. In the age of radio, wide circles spread from towers. Now, the web is so thick, so intricate, that it seems almost solid, and yet it remains invisible. The city beneath your feet is made of stone and glass, okay? But the city above your head, the hidden city, is made of waves and frequencies. You live in both at once. There is beauty in how the hidden map mirrors old patterns of life. Long ago, cities were built around wells, rivers, markets, temples. Now, cities are built around networks. Connections flow not just along streets, but through the air. The hidden map is a modern river system. Each tower is a source. Each router is a spring. Each satellite is a distant, steady sun. And you are always downstream. Imagine walking through a crowded square at noon. Hundreds of people pass, carrying their own lives, their own purposes, while layered over this human map is another, the map of signals. Every phone calls silently to a tower. Every smartwatch pings quietly for updates. Every bus, every taxi, every storefront glows with its own ripple. The square is not just a gathering of bodies, it is a knot in the hidden web. And when night comes, when people return to their homes, the map shifts but does not fade. Its towers still glow, routers still breathe, satellites still beam. The pattern changes shape, like a tide retreating from one shore and washing upon another. But the ocean never disappears. Think of the map as a second heartbeat for every city. The first is biological, pulse of its people. The second is electrical, the pulse of its signals. Both beat in rhythm. Both create life. Both are fragile, yet constant. Scientists and engineers can measure this map. They can chart which areas glow brightest with signal, which neighborhoods remain dim. They can trace how data flows, how information travels, how the chorus shifts from hour to hour. But you do not need instruments to know it exists. You can feel its presence in your life, in the ease of finding a route, in the immediacy of a reply, in the way silence feels rare. The hidden map is no less real for being invisible. In its patterns lies something more than science. It is the shape of human longing, because every signal carries intention, a desire to reach, to learn, to share, to be heard. The map is not made of towers and satellites alone. It is made of voices, of choices, of lives. When you imagine it, you do not just imagine geometry. You imagine humanity itself. suspended in air. The map is also fragile. A single failure, one tower down, one line cut, one satellite offline can redraw the pattern instantly. Cities notice, traffic halts, commerce stutters, messages delay. The hidden map feels eternal, but it is always balancing on threads of steel and glass, on signals that must never stop flowing. And yet, its resilience is remarkable. If one thread falters, another forms. One tower goes dark, another brightens. The map bends, but it does not break. It is as alive as the people who sustain it. Now, close your eyes again to picture the world without buildings, without roads, without rivers. Only the hidden map remains. From space, the continents glow faintly with lines of light. Towers and cities shine like constellations. Oceans are crossed with threads of satellites. The earth itself becomes a lantern, wrapped in invisible webs. This is the true geography of the modern age. Not mountains and valleys, but signals and networks. You live in a planet of waves. The hidden map is not finished. It is still growing, still evolving. Each year, new signals are added, new frequencies discovered, new layers woven. Soon, the map will grow even deeper, with satellites that form constellations of connection, with networks that reach the most remote places, with signals that blur the line between Earth and space. The ocean expands, the map spreads, the web tightens, and above it all, unseen but constant, satellites shine like stars, keeping the map alive. Asterisk, lift your gaze upward, past the rooftops, past the towers, case the thin layers of clouds glowing faintly with city light. There, in the dark sky, orbiting far above your sight, satellites circle endlessly. They are small compared to planets, faint compared to stars, but their presence shapes the rhythm of every city, every town, every life. Imagine the Earth wrapped in threads. Each thread is a satellite orbit, a path carved invisibly through space. Along these threads, thousands of silent machines glide, each one breathing signals down to the world below. From the ground, you rarely notice them. Sometimes, if you look carefully at dusk, you see a point of light sliding slowly across the sky, brighter than a star, yet steadier than an airplane. That is a satellite, reflecting sunlight as it drifts across its endless circuit. But most of the time, they remain unseen, forgotten, though they shape the very fabric of your daily life. Satellites are the highest towers of all. Where the steel structures of cities reach hundreds of feet, satellites hover hundreds of miles above. They see entire continents at once. Their signals spill downward like invisible rain, covering oceans, mountains, forests, and deserts. If the hidden map of signals glows across cities, satellites are the stars above that map, guiding, anchoring, feeding it. Think of what they carry. Some satellites beam television across nations. Some provide weather forecasts, scanning clouds and storms from above. Some handle military communications, silent and precise. And some form the backbone of navigation itself, GPS, guiding cars, planes, ships, and even footsteps along city streets. Every time you check a map on your phone, invisible signals leap from satellites into your device. Every time a ship sails safely through dark seas, satellites guide it. Every time an airplane arcs across continents, satellites whisper directions into its systems. They are the unseen guides of modern life. Picture them as a constellation, not of stars, but of machines. Each orbit holds dozens, sometimes hundreds, of satellites. Together, they form lattice around the Earth, spinning in careful synchronization. From space, the planet will look not only blue and green, but wrapped in faint halos of invisible energy. Rings of signals pulsing outward, shimmering grids crossing one another, glowing threads of human invention. The Earth is no longer alone in its silence. It hums upward as well as outward. There is something meditative in the idea of a satellite's journey. launched with fire, carried on thunder, it leaves the surface of Earth. And then, once in orbit, it becomes calm gliding, steady, moving silently across the same path again and again. Its life is a circle, each orbit a repetition, each circuit another verse in its endless song. While below, billions of lives move in chaos. Above, satellites maintain quiet order. Imagine their perspective. A weather satellite looks down and sees an entire continent beneath rolling clouds. Communication satellite watches cities flicker with light, then darkness, then light again. A navigation satellite sees not sights, but timing signals, keeping the heartbeat of machines synchronized across the world. Each one contributes a different piece, cool, but together they weave the larger web. Signals from satellites move in straight lines through the vacuum of space, down into the atmosphere, into the waiting receivers of towers and devices. Unlike towers, satellites do not send signals outward in small neighborhoods. They blanket vast stretches of Earth. A single pulse can cover thousands of miles. It is as if the sky itself is speaking, but these voices are silent. The signals pass invisibly. You'd never feel them land on your skin. You never hear them with your ears, and yet they touch you every day. Without them, your maps would go dark, your flights would wander, your weather forecasts would falter, your television screens would lose their image. You live in their presence, even if you rarely look up. There is fragility here too. Satellites orbit in silence, but their environment is harsh. Space is cold, relentless. Solar winds batter their shells. Fragments of old machines drift nearby. It's tiny pieces of debris traveling at incredible speeds. And yet, satellites persist, circling for years, times decades. Their signals unwavering. Their patience is remarkable. Their endurance quiet. When night deepens and you stand beneath the sky, you can imagine them hundreds of invisible companions moving above. Not stars, not planets, but human-made constellations. In their own way, they are as poetic as the heavens. They are stars of intention, stars of purpose, stars of connection. And though their light is invisible, their impact shines through your life every day. Sometimes, multiple satellites align in long strings, new constellations placed deliberately, like beads on a necklace, circling in formation. From Earth, they appear as dots moving together, tracing silent lines across the night. People gaze up and wonder, some unsettled, some amazed. But what they are seeing is only a glimpse of the hidden. Ocean above. The ocean does not stop at the edge of the atmosphere. It extends into space, carried on the backs of satellites, wrapping the Earth in a second skin of signals. The hidden map you traced in the city below now stretches upward. Towers mark the ground. Routers glow in homes. And satellites, far above, bind all of it together. The web is no longer local. It is planetary. Consider what happens in a single moment. A farmer in a distant valley checks the weather on his phone. The signal he receives comes from a satellite scanning the clouds above. At the same time, a pilot over the ocean follows a path traced by GPS satellites far overhead. Meanwhile, a family in a city watches a television broadcast beamed down from a satellite thousands of miles above their roof. Different lives, different places, all linked to the same silent constellation. Even in sleep, satellites keep working. They measure storms, track movements, relay signals. When you close your eyes, they circle. When you wake, they circle. When you live an entire life, they circle still. Their patience is greater than yours. Their song longer than a human lifetime. And yet, like everything, they are temporary. Orbits decay, machines age, signals falter. Satellites burn up in the atmosphere, or drift into graveyard orbits, becoming faint relics of their once constant hum. But before they fade, others rise to take their place. the constellation renews itself. The song never truly ends. Think of satellites as the memory of the Earth itself. Each one records, measures, transmits. They hold knowledge of storms, landscapes, migrations, histories. They are archivists, orbiting librarians, keeping watch, and their gaze is steady, MBLINKNG. So the sky above is not empty. It is full of unseen companions. They do not shine, but they shape. They do not speak, but they guide. And as you drift in this awareness, you realize the satellites above are only part of the hum, because even closer than satellites, even more immediate than towers or routers, every wire, every circuit, every current in your own city gives off its own faint breath. Electricity, self, is singing. Asterisk, after drifting high above with satellites, you return slowly to the ground. The constellations fade, the sky darkens, and the city rises once again beneath your feet. But listen closely, not with your ears, but with imagination, because here, too, there is a constant hum, not of voices, not of signals leaping across towers, but of something more elemental, electricity itself. Electricity is the lifeblood of the city. Every lamp that glows, every motor that turns, every screen that brightens each is a flicker of current, a rhythm of flowing charge. The city hums because its veins are filled with electricity, and every one of those veins, every circuit and cable, whispers into the air as it works. You cannot hear it, not directly. But if you pressed your ear against the world, if you leaned into the silence, you might sense it, a faint, steady murmur. Behind everything, imagine the walls around you. Hidden within them are wires, thin copper lines, carrying current constantly. They snake behind plaster, underfloors, above ceilings, each one buzzing faintly with the rhythm of alternating current. It is not a loud sound. It is not a roar or a hiss. It is a low, endless hum, 50 or 60 times each second, depending on where you live. The current reverses direction. This rhythm is so steady, so reliable, that clocks can keep time by it. The entire city breathes in synchrony, its pulse aligned with the invisible heartbeat of electricity. Step outside and look at the streets. Overhead, lines stretch from pole to pole, black threads against the sky. Each one carries current. Each one vibrates faintly with invisible power. On rainy nights, you may see drops of water bead and sizzle against them. On silent mornings, you may hear a faint buzz if you stand close enough, but most of the time, you notice nothing. And yet, they hum. Walk further into the heart of the city. Neon signs glow against the night, their colors bright, their shapes alive. Inside each sign, current flows through gas, making it shine. And with each flicker, each glow, there is another whisper in the air. Venture underground. Subway rails stretch endlessly, metal veins carrying not just trains, but electricity itself. Sparks leap as wheels make contact, flashes of light against the dark tunnels. With each spark comes another murmur, another note in the electrical song. Even the elevators in tall buildings hum as their motors turn, their cables carrying not just people, but invisible sound. The murmur is everywhere, in kitchens as appliances breathe quietly, in offices as computers glow and servers whir, in bedrooms as lamps rest by BEDSIDES. Each wire contributes a thread. Each circuit adds its tone. Together, they weave into a background hum that fills every moment of your life. You rarely notice it. But if it were gone, silence would fall too heavily. The city itself would seem to vanish. There is science in this murmur. Electricity flowing through wires produces magnetic fields. Those fields spread outward, faint but constant, brushing against the air. Every wire hums with this field, Every circuit radiates a tiny signature of its presence. You are surrounded not only by signals from towers and satellites, but by the quieter, nearer song of electricity itself. Think of a transformer on a street corner. You have seen them. Heavy metal boxes or cylinders humming faintly as they step down voltage to safer levels for homes and shops. Their hum is literal. You can hear it if you pause nearby. That hum is the voice of electricity at work. It is the sound of coils vibrating, of currents reversing, the invisible power being made usable. Multiply that by every transformer, every substation, every power line, and you have the chorus of electricity that underlies your city. There is poetry in how constant it is. The hum does not grow tired. The wires do not sleep. Okay? The murmur continues day after day, year after year, even when the streets are empty. Okay? Even when the night is silent, even when you believe nothing is happening. Electricity hums on, patient and steady. Sometimes, when a blackout comes, the murmur disappears. Lights fade, screens die, motors stop. The city falls quiet, and it is only then, in that sudden silence, that you realize how much of your world rests on the steady hum. The absence of it feels heavy. The stillness feels unnatural because you are accustomed to living inside a constant current. Even if you do not sense it directly, consider how far this current travels. Power plants hum with turbines spinning. Water, wind, steam, or sun turns generators that send electricity outward. That current flows along high voltage lines, stretching for hundreds of miles across valleys, through mountains, over rivers. At every step, it hums. At every point, it leaves its faint mark on the air. By the time it reaches your home, it has traveled farther than you may in weeks. And yet, it arrives instantly, its rhythm unchanged. You switch on a light, and the bulb glows not with delay, not with hesitation, but with immediate brilliance. The murmur of electricity is always there, waiting, ready. Think of the city at night. Its skyline lit with countless bulbs and neon signs. Each light is a small note in the murmur. Together, they create a chord so vast that it stretches beyond. Hearing now, imagine every elevator, every rail, every computer server, every refrigerator, every lamp pole humming at once. The sound may be silent to your ears, but it is deafening in scale. The city itself is an instrument. Its song is electricity. Even nature hums with electricity. Lightning tears the sky with sudden brilliance, its current echoing across the atmosphere. Static builds silently on dry days, leaping from your fingertip in a tiny spark. The earth itself produces faint electromagnetic fields, rippling slowly beneath your feet. The murmur of electricity is not only human, it is also natural, universal, elemental. But in cities, humanity has amplified it, layered it, woven it into daily life until it becomes the background of existence. And your body are part of it. Your heart beats because of electrical signals moving through muscle. Your brain thinks because of tiny currents traveling through neurons. You are alive because of your own hum, your own inner murmur. So, when electricity flows through wires around you, when it hums through the city, you are not separate from it. You are in resonance with it. A body of currents inside an ocean of currents. The murmur outside mirrors the murmur within. There is comfort in this. The world feels vast, sometimes overwhelming, but the murmur is steady, constant, faithful. It is always there, no matter where you go. From the buzzing lights of New York to the quiet lanterns of a rural village, the hum of electricity ties lives together. It is a song that spans the globe as you drift deeper into reflection. Imagine listening with new senses. Imagine being able to hear every current, every hum, every murmur. The wires in your walls would sing softly. The poles on your street would drone steadily. The rails beneath trains would growl like distant thunder. It would not be silence. It would not be noise. It would be something in between, a constant, unending tone that holds the world together. And when you grew accustomed to it, perhaps it would feel like a lullaby. So the satellites hum above. The towers sing outside. The routers breathe through walls. And electricity murmurs in every wire, every bulb, every line of the city. This is the layered music of the invisible ocean. And where there is song, there is silence too. Because between the hums, between the signals, there are empty spaces. Not everything is filled. Not every frequency is claimed. There are gaps, and inside them lie shadows. Asterisk, every song needs its pauses. Every breath has its spaces. Every tide has its ebb as well as its flow. So it is with the invisible ocean. For all the signals that fill the air, the hum of towers, the breath of routers, the murmur of electricity, there are also gaps, places where nothing passes, moments where the frequencies fall silent. These are the radio shadows. Imagine standing in a valley. Signals flow from towers. They stretch outward like invisible sunlight. But when they reach the steep rock walls, the waves break, scatter, and fade. At the bottom, your phone falls silent. There's no connection, no signal. You are in a shadow, a pocket where the ocean cannot reach. It feels strange, unsettling even. But also, there is calm. For the first time, you are outside the chorus. The air feels emptier. This is one kind of radio shadow geography, bending the invisible tide. There are others. Walk into a tunnel and signals fade. Step deep into a cave and silence settles in. Enter a building of steel and glass, and the invisible waves cannot always follow. The ocean is wide, but it is not flawless. Even in its density, there are shadows. On a larger scale, the radio spectrum itself is filled with gaps. K-engineers divide frequencies carefully, assigning some to towers, some to satellites, some to Wi-Fi, some to television, but not every frequency is used. Some are empty, reserved, waiting. Between the voices, there are silences. If you could see the spectrum stretched out like a piano, some keys would ring constantly, while others would remain untouched. The pauses are as important as the notes. Think of an old radio dial, U-turn. The knob slowly moving from station to station. At certain points, music or voices bloom. At others, only static greets you. That static, that emptiness between stations, is a reminder of the shadows. Not every space is filled. Not every part of the spectrum is claimed. The shadows are not failures. They are part of the rhythm. There is something deeply human about how we respond to these shadows. When your phone loses service, you feel disoriented. When your internet falters, frustration rises. When silence replaces sound, it feels like absence. But silence is not always loss. Silence is balance. Silence is space in the invisible ocean. Shadows are necessary. They allow signals to breathe, to avoid colliding, to remain distinct. The shadows make the voices possible. Pause and imagine yourself in one of these spaces. Deep in the countryside, far from towers, you hold your phone, and it shows no bars of service. Around you, the sky stretches endlessly. The trees sway softly. The fields hum only with wind and insects. No signal touches you here. For a moment, you are outside the invisible map, off the grid of constant connection. You are simply present, surrounded only by the natural rhythms of the earth. It is a radio shadow, and it feels like a return. Even in cities, shadows exist. Step into a basement, and you feel the silence. Walk into an old building with thick stone walls. The hum grows faint. The ocean retreats in patches, like the sea leaving pools of still water on a rocky shore. And in those pools of silence, you may feel more alone or more free. Science shows us that shadows are not voids, but interactions. Waves meet obstacles. They reflect, bend, cancel each other out. In their interference, silence emerges, like ripples colliding on water. Signals sometimes cancel, leaving pockets where nothing remains. This is the beauty of physics. Silence born not from absence, but from balance. There is poetry here. The shadows remind us that even in a world of endless connection, silence has a place. That absence can be as real as presence. That the invisible ocean is made not only of voices, but of pauses between them. In every song, the rest is as meaningful as the note. In every painting, the blank space is as vital as the color. In every signal, the shadow is as important as the wave. Consider the deep wilderness. There are still places where no towers reach, no satellites connect, no routers glow. Hikers sometimes call these dead zones. Another way to see them is as sanctuaries of silence. Rare spaces where the invisible ocean grows thin, where the modern chorus falls away, and the earth sings alone. In these places, the stars shine brighter, the winds carry more weight, and silence itself feels alive. They are shadows, not of failure, but of simplicity. Even in science, shadows carry knowledge. Astronomers study radio shadows cast by planets and moons to understand their atmospheres. Engineers measure shadows to build stronger networks. Biologists notice how animals navigate areas of silence differently from areas of signal. Shadows tell stories. They reveal what is blocked, what is missing, what is yet to come. Without shadows, the ocean would not be whole. And so, the radio shadows live quietly among us. You do not notice them until you stumble into one. You do not value them until a signal disappears. But they are everywhere reminders of the invisible rhythm down. Imagine again the spectrum of waves stretched like a vast canvas. Some bands glow with constant activity. Others remain empty, untouched, silent. The silence is not wasted. It is potential, a promise of what may come. And as technology grows, some of these shadows will be filled, tuned into, transformed into new voices. But others will remain because silence itself is necessary. You live between sound and silence, between presence and absence, between signal and shadow. This balance is what allows the invisible ocean to breathe. And as you rest within this thought, you realize the shadows are not empty at all. They are spaces of waiting, of holding, of possibility. And within those spaces, something else begins to emerge. Not silence, but competition. Not absence, but overlap. Because while some frequencies fall quiet, others press too close together, struggling for space in the crowded air. And that quiet struggle is where the journey carries you next. Asterisk, the shadows of silence are real. But silence is not the only shape in the invisible ocean. Just as often, the opposite happens. Instead of absence, there is abundance. Instead of emptiness, there is crowding. Instead of stillness, there is competition. Imagine walking into a room full of voices. Some speak quietly, some loudly, some sing, some whisper. All at once, the air fills with sound. Your ears cannot separate every voice. They catch the ones nearest, the clearest, the sharpest. The rest fades into a blur, a background of overlapping speech. The invisible ocean is like this. Every signal tries to be heard. Every frequency seeks its place. Sometimes they collide. In physics, this is called interference. One wave presses against another. Their crests and valleys overlap, sometimes strengthening, sometimes canceling. The result is not always clarity. Often, it is confusion. Imagine two ripples meeting on the surface of a pond. Where their peaks align, they rise. Higher, where a peak meets a valley, they flatten. The water looks broken, uneven, restless. So it is with signals. Where frequencies overlap too closely, the waves struggle, twisting into patterns of disruption. But here is the strange part. For most of your life, you do not notice engineers design systems so that even in the midst of competition, signals remain legible. Frequencies are divided like lanes on a highway. Protocols step in to prevent collisions. Error correction patches the gaps to your eyes and ears. The competition disappears. The message arrives. The call connects. The song plays without stutter. And yet, beneath the surface, the struggle is constant. Think of a busy airport runway. Planes line up, waiting their turn to take off. Air traffic controllers assign each one a path, a window, a clearance, querence. If two tried to fly at once, disaster would follow out. So, too, with the invisible ocean. Each signal waits its turn, keeps its place, follows its lane, and yet, sometimes, to try to cross at once. The result is interference. The ocean is not pure harmony. It is a negotiation. You can sense this most clearly in old radios. Turn the dial too far, and stations overlap. Voices bleed into each other. Music collides with static. The sound becomes confusing. Neither one thing nor another. This is competition, made audible. In the modern world, most of this struggle is hidden. Algorithms smooth the collisions. Machines quietly sort the chaos into clarity. But the competition is always there, humming beneath the silence. There is poetry in this invisible. Crowd signals are like people in a marketplace. Each calls out, trying to be heard. Each speaks a different language, a different tone, a different rhythm. Some voices rise above the noise. Others fade, and yet, somehow, the marketplace does not collapse. It becomes a chorus of survival, a song of persistence. Even light competes in this way. In the night sky above cities, stars struggle against street lamps. The faint glow of the Milky Way fades beneath neon and headlights. The signals of the cosmos are still there, but they are drowned, obscured by brighter lights. Astronomers call it light pollution. In the invisible ocean, there is a similar phenomenon, noise pollution. It's too many signals pressing together, clouding one another, muting what could otherwise be clear. Competition hides as much as it reveals, and yet the human brain is gifted at ignoring what it cannot parse. You do not notice the clash of signals unless the interference grows too strong. You perceive silence, when in fact the air is crowded beyond imagining. Silence is often not the absence of signals, but the masking of them. Think of standing in a crowded restaurant. Dozens of conversations happen at once. You cannot follow them all, but when your friend across the table speaks, your brain picks their voice out of the noise. This is called the cocktail party effect. Your brain chooses, focusing on what matters, discarding the rest. The invisible ocean does the same. Machines sort voices, prioritize signals, emphasize clarity over chaos. You experience order. Beneath it lies constant competition. There is a kind of beauty in this balance. Without competition, the spectrum would lie unused, silent. With too much competition, nothing would reach you at all. The balance is fragile. It holds most of the time. Sometimes, you feel the competition breaking through. A call drops mid-sentence. A video buffers. A radio crackles with overlapping voices. These are reminders of the struggle. Brief glimpses into the crowded nature of the ocean. But, most of the time, you are sheltered from it, living as though each signal is alone. Competition is not only technological, it is also human. Frequencies are auctioned, sold, regulated. Governments and companies vie for pieces of the spectrum. For rights to the invisible lanes of the air. Billions of dollars shift hands for what cannot be seen. The air becomes a marketplace, not just of signals, but of power. And so, the quiet competition stretches beyond physics into society itself. There is something almost philosophical in this, that the air, once thought empty, has become crowded real estate. That silence itself can be bought and sold. That frequencies, intangible and unseen, are among the most valuable resources of our time. The ocean is not free. Its currents are managed, divided, controlled. Even silence is owned, yet, despite all this, signals still reach you. The text message arrives, the call connects, the video plays. The competition does not stop the ocean from flowing. It only makes the flow more intricate, more delicate, more human. So the invisible ocean continues its song. Sometimes silence, sometimes shadow, sometimes harmony, sometimes competition. It is never still. It is always alive, and you too are part of this balance. Because your body, your skin, your nerves, your very cells are not separate from the waves. Day 2. Respond. Day 2. Resonate. They, too, are part of the antennae of the world. And as you drift into this thought, you realize the next chapter of the ocean is not out there, but within you. The body itself is part of the hum. The body itself is antenna. The invisible ocean moves through towers, satellites, wires, and air. But it does not stop at the boundary of your walls, or even at the edge of your skin. It moves through you, and in a subtle way. Your body does not merely allow the waves to pass. It listens. It responds. It becomes part of the network itself. Think of your skin. Every inch of it carries electrical sensitivity. To touch it with warmth, and signals rush through nerves. Brush it with cool air. Spinny currents move along fibers. Your body is alive with electricity's own currents, its own rhythms. And those rhythms meet the rhythms of the invisible ocean. You are not separate from the waves. You are immersed, and you are responsive. Science shows us that the human body can act as an antenna. Your skin, your bones, your blood, all of them conduct electricity in small but real ways. When radio waves pass, your body can absorb them, bend them, even re-radiate them faintly. This is why touching a radio antenna sometimes improves its signal. Why standing in one place can change the reception of a television. Why your presence shifts the shape of a Wi-Fi field in a room. Without effort, without awareness, you are part of the pattern. Imagine yourself standing in a room filled with invisible waves. You hold out your hand. You cannot see or feel the signals, but in that moment, your body bends them. It becomes a participant in the geometry of the field. Your presence changes the ocean. This is not foreign to you. Your body has always been tuned to waves. Your ears catch vibrations in the air, turning them into sound. Your eyes catch vibrations of light, turning them into sight. Your skin senses the warmth of infrared, the touch of heat carried by radiation. You are already antenna, already receiver. Electromagnetic signals are simply another spectrum, one your senses do not notice, but your body still engages with. Consider the brain. It works by firing tiny electrical impulses, billions of them each second. Every thought, every memory, every dream is shaped by these electrical currents. And when scientists measure them, they find waves, slow ripples during sleep, fast sparks during concentration, gentle pulses during relaxation. You are not just antenna. You are a source of signals yourself. The invisible ocean outside mirrors the invisible ocean within. Imagine lying still in bed. Outside, towers hum, satellites beam, routers breathe. Within your skull, your own waves shimmer slow, steady, alive. The two seas overlap. The world's ocean and your body's ocean flow through one another, separate yet intertwined. Even your heart speaks electrically. Each beat begins with a spark, a pulse of current that spreads through muscle, telling it to contract. Doctors can read these sparks on the screen. tracing the rhythm of life in lines that rise and fall. When your heart beats, it emits faint electrical signals that can be measured outside your body. You radiate, however softly, just as towers radiate you, a part of the broadcast. This truth is humbling. You are not merely surrounded by signals. You are a signal yourself. You are not just immersed in the ocean, you are one of its currents. Your skin, your cells, your very presence bend the waves around you, and your own waves ripple outward, touching the world in return. There is poetry in this intimacy. It means you are never truly outside the network, even when your phone is off, even when the router is silent, even when towers are far away. Your body hums, your neurons spark, your heart pulses, your muscles twitch with tiny currents. The invisible ocean outside mirrors the ocean within. Think of how this changes your perspective. You are not a passive swimmer in the sea of signals. You are a participant, a co-creator, a note in the chorus. Every movement, every thought, every beat adds to the field of the world. Science has shown that even the simplest thing, standing near an antenna, holding a device, walking across a room, shift how signals move. Your body blocks some waves, redirects others, enhances still others. You are a moving piece of the invisible geometry. The walls shift the pattern. The furniture shifts the pattern. And so do you. Imagine a crowded room, each person radiating faintly, each person bending the signals around them. Together, they reshape the entire field. Together, they are part of the silent architecture of waves. The invisible ocean is not just around. Humanity is through it. Asterisk, there is comfort in this, because it means connection is not something outside of you. It is not something separate. It is woven into the very fabric of your existence. You belong to it. You resonate with it. You hum with it. And when you sleep, your body does not fall silent. Your brain produces slow waves of rest. Your heart continues its rhythmic spark. Your cells fire tiny currents as they repair, rebuild, renew. The ocean continues, inside and out. So, as you lie here, remember, you are not only in the network, you are of it. The hum outside passes through you. The hum inside radiates outward. The two overlap, like tides meeting on a shore. You are the shore, and in that realization lies a question. If the body is an antenna, and the world is full of waves, then what becomes of signals that carry no sound at all? It's waves that pass silently, invisibly, without echo, without touch. How do we live in currents that we can never hear? Asterisk, your body hums with currents of its own. Your heart pulses, your brain ripples, your cells whisper with tiny sparks. And around you, the invisible ocean continues its restless movement. But what is most remarkable about this ocean is its silence. Waves pass endlessly, from towers, from satellites, from wires, through your walls, through your furniture, through your body. And yet, you hear nothing. Signals carry messages, but they carry no sound. They do not rattle windows. They do not stir curtains. They do not echo against your eardrums. They move as though the air were empty. Think of the wind. When it moves, you hear it. Leaves rustle, branches sway, the air whistles across corners and cracks. Think of rain, falls in drops you can feel. It patters against roofs, dances on the ground, ripples across water. Think of thunder. It booms through the sky, shaking earth and chest alike. These are signals you can sense. But the electromagnetic waves of the invisible ocean are different. They pass quietly, leaving no trace your senses can detect. Imagine sitting in your room. The night is still. The air is calm. No rustle, no whisper, no vibration touches your ear. And yet, in that same room, thousands of signals are passing. Messages, images, voices, streams of data. The silence is deceptive. It is not emptiness. It is fullness, disguised as nothing. There is something haunting about this silence. It suggests a world layered beyond perception. Of course, that exists, but one your senses will never join. You live immersed in song, but you will never hear it. Science tells us why. The waves of the invisible ocean vibrate far too quickly or far too slowly for the ear. Sound is only a small slice of vibration, a narrow window in a spectrum of endless possibility. Outside that window lies a universe of waves, moving unheard. Your ears are tuned to air molecules colliding. Signals do not disturb air molecules in the same way. They glide through, leaving no sound behind. Instruments, however, can translate. A radio turns invisible waves into audible sound. Antenna captures silence and reshapes it into music, into words, into stories. The silence is not absence, it is potential, waiting for the right receiver, the right translation. Imagine a signal traveling across the sky. It carries a voice coded into its ripples. The voice is full of emotion, warmth, meaning. But until a receiver unlocks it, the signal is silent. It passes over forests and oceans, through mountains and clouds. No bird hears it. No storm answers it. It waits silently, and then, somewhere, a receiver hums to life. The voice blooms. The silence becomes sound. There is something poetic here, that the air is full of voices you cannot hear. That silence is crowded with unspoken words. That space itself hums with hidden messages. You are surrounded by soundless sound. Think of this silence as a mirror. It reminds you that not everything real is perceptible. That absence of sensation does not mean absence of existence. You cannot hear signals, but you depend on them. You cannot feel their movement, but they carry your life forward. The silence holds you invisibly. There is comfort in this. Silence does not always mean loneliness. It can mean connection too deep to sense. While you sit in stillness, while you close your eyes, while you drift into rest. The ocean moves without sound, carrying you within it. Consider how different this is from the natural sounds of the world. Wind, rain, thunder each insists upon notice. They demand your attention, stirring body and mind. But the signals of the invisible ocean ask for nothing. They do not disturb you. They do not intrude. They do not announce themselves. They only pass humbly, silently, persistently. In this way, they are almost like thought itself. Your brain sparks constantly, sending signals across neurons. Cool, but you do not hear the firing. Cool, you only hear the result. A voice, an idea, a word. The waves outside mirror the waves inside. Both are silent in their raw form. Both must be translated into meaning. Imagine, for a moment, if you could hear them. The air would be alive with a constant sound, a ceaseless chorus of overlapping tones, a roar of messages colliding. There would be no silence left, no stillness, no pause. The air would be deafening. Perhaps it is mercy that the waves remain quiet, that the ocean hides itself behind silence. Silence, after all, makes sleep possible. And though the ocean moves endlessly, its soundlessness cradles you, allowing you to rest within its movement. Even nature reminds us of these silent waves, its lightning flashes, its current racing across the sky. You hear thunder, but the electromagnetic pulse itself is silent. Solar winds stream from the sun, carrying invisible energy. The Earth's magnetic field ripples, shielding life from radiation. All of these are waves, soundless, passing constantly. The natural world hums in silence too. So you live in two oceans, one of sound, wind, buoyant, voices, music, and one of silence, signals, frequencies, radiation, fields. The first ocean you can sense. The second you can only trust. Both shape your life. Both hold you gently, night after night. And when you close your eyes, you realize the silence is not empty. It is vast. It is full. It's waiting for the receiver, waiting for the translation. It's waiting for awareness. So let yourself drift into that silence. Imagine the air alive with waves you will never hear. Imagine the room bathed in currents. Too quiet, too sense. Imagine yourself held in the stillness of an ocean that moves without sound. And then consider this. The silence is not human alone. Nature itself sends out hidden frequencies, unseen, unheard, yet constant. And those frequencies, older than towers, older than routers, older even than satellites, have always flowed through the earth. Asterisks, the silence of signals surrounds you. Its voices and messages pass invisibly, never touching your ear. But human signals are not the only currents in the ocean. Long before towers rose, long before satellites circled, long before wires glowed with electricity, the earth itself was humming. Hidden frequencies in nature, older than memory, older than civilization, older than life itself, flow quietly still. Start with lightning. A storm gathers on the horizon. Clouds darken. Winds shift. The air swells with energy, and then a flash. Lightning cracks open the sky, white and violent. The thunder arrives seconds later, shaking the ground. But alongside the thunder comes something else silent, unseen. The lightning releases electromagnetic waves. They ripple outward across the atmosphere, circling the earth. Some are strong enough to be heard on radios as sharp static. Others are too faint for any ear to notice, yet they persist, spreading endlessly. These waves are called spheric natural radio signals. Born from storms, every bolt of lightning is not just a flash of light or a crash of sound. It is a broadcast out now. Imagine the earth during a stormy night. Thousands of lightning bolts strike the ground every minute, across continents, across oceans. Each one radiates waves into the atmosphere. Together, they form a global chorus, a planetary rhythm of static. The earth is never truly silent. Its sky is alive with hidden frequencies. It's forever echoing the voice of storms. But the earth itself hums in deeper ways. Scientists speak of the Schumann resonances law, slow electromagnetic waves that circle between the surface of the earth and the edge of the atmosphere. They are born from lightning too, but instead of fading, they bounce between ground and sky, resonating like the echo in a vast cave. These resonances are unimaginably slow compared to radio towers. Their cycles stretch seconds long, pulsing like a planetary heartbeat. Every second of your life, the earth hums quietly with these resonances. You cannot hear them, but they are always there, a natural background to existence. Look higher still, above. The atmosphere. The sun breathes streams of charged particles into space. This is the solar wind. It flows endlessly, rushing past Earth, colliding with the magnetic field that surrounds our planet. The collision creates waves of its own magnetic ripples, shifting currents, auroras glowing in silent curtains of light. When the solar wind intensifies, storms of energy race across the sky. They interfered with radios, with satellites, with power grids, invisible frequencies from the sun, meeting human frequencies in a delicate dance. The city absorbs them quietly, its towers adjusting, its systems bending, some blending with the larger hum of the cosmos. Asterisk, the earth is not merely shaped by these frequencies, it creates them too. The planet itself produces faint magnetic waves, born from molten iron, churning in its core. These geomagnetic pulses are so gentle that you never feel them. Migratory animals, birds, whales, turds use them to navigate. Long before humans built compasses, life on Earth had been listening to the planet's invisible fields. Even now, as planes rely on satellites and ships rely on GPS, birds still follow the Earth's silent frequencies, finding their way across oceans by listening to a hum you will never sense. Step into the wilderness and you can feel their presence indirectly, far from towers, far from wires, far from neon lights. The silence grows deeper, but beneath that silence is the steady pulse of the Earth's own song. Lightning crackles in the distance, solar winds brush the sky as the core turns, radiating its slow, magnetic rhythm. Even without human voices, the invisible ocean is full. There is poetry in this overlap. Human frequencies and natural frequencies coexist, layered upon one another, sometimes harmonizing, sometimes colliding. A radio station may falter during a solar storm. A signal may vanish in the static of distant lightning. Tanting, a compass needle, may quiver in response to geomagnetic waves. The ocean does not belong to humanity alone. It has always been alive. Consider the aurora. High above polar skies, the solar wind meets the Earth's magnetic field. Energy cascades down, painting the night in ribbons of green, purple, and red dot to the eye. It is beauty. To science, it is frequency. Waves of energy colliding, shimmering, is translating into light. The aurora is proof that the invisible ocean is real, not just imagined, not just human-made. It glows in silence, a reminder that the cosmos is speaking. You might wonder, why can we not hear these natural waves? The answer is the same as with human signals. The vibrations are outside your ears' window of perception. Some are too low, like the Schumann resonances, slow pulses that stretch seconds long. Others are too high, too faint, too diffuse. They pass through you without sound. They always have. But instruments can listen. Radio receivers catch the crackle of lightning thousands of miles away. Magnetometers trace the faint heartbeat of the Earth. Satellites record the whispers of the solar wind. And when scientists replay these signals as sound, they become eerie. It's beautiful music, a cosmic song hidden in silence. Some recordings resemble distant choirs. Others sound like whistles and chirps, as though birds were flying across the edge of space. It is the voice of nature, translated at last into human perception. Imagine lying on the ground at night, the stars above, the earth beneath. You feel still, right? You feel silent. But beneath you, the planet hums. Above you, the cosmos breathes. You are cradled between two oceans of waves, one of human invention, and one as old as creation itself. There is comfort in knowing that even without towers, without satellites, without routers or wires, the ocean would not vanish. It would remain because the earth itself hums, because the sky itself radiates, because silence is never truly silent. So as you drift within this thought, you realize the invisible ocean is not invincible. Its human layers can falter. Signals can fail. Connections can break. And when they do, you are reminded of how dependent you have become on the hum. How fragile the modern ocean is, even as the natural one persists. The invisible ocean feels endless. It hums through towers, glows through routers, spills down from satellites, and whispers even from the earth itself. But sometimes the ocean falters. Sometimes the waves fall silent. And in those moments, you realize how deeply you rely on the hum. Picture a city at night. The skyline is alive with light. Neon signs glow. Windows shimmer with screens. Traffic glitters with headlights. Then, a blackout dot. In an instant, the glow disappears. The towers dim. The wires fall quiet. The chorus of electricity, so constant and unnoticed, vanishes. For a heartbeat, the city feels hollow. Blackouts remind us of the fragility of signals. Without electricity, the routers stop breathing. Without routers, the networks fade. Without networks, towers fall silent. And without towers, voices vanish from the air. The invisible ocean recedes, leaving behind a silence that feels heavier than any storm. In those moments, your habits confront you. You reach for a phone, but the signal is gone. You press a switch, but the light stays dark. You wait for sound, but no hum answers. You are left with yourself, with those around you, with the silence of the air. There is discomfort in this silence. It feels unnatural, like the pause of a heartbeat. But there is also a strange intimacy. Without signals, the world shrinks. Conversations return to voices in the same room. Entertainment returns to the flicker of fire, the telling of stories, the watching of stars. The blackout strips the ocean away, revealing the smaller rhythms beneath. Even without full blackouts, failures occur: a dropped call, a frozen video, a message that refuses to send. Small silences, tiny fractures in the ocean. They frustrate you in the moment, but they are reminders too that the invisible web is not invincible, that every connection leans on fragile threads. Consider the ocean of satellites. Sometimes storms from the sun interfere, disturbing their signals. Navigation falters, flights reroute, ships hesitate, or think of towers knocked silent by storms or earthquakes. Their voices cut off in an instant, their neighborhoods left in radio shadows. The ocean, so constant, reveals itself as delicate, and yet, even in failure, there is resilience. When one tower falls, another speaks louder. When a router falters, another breathes. When satellites stumble, backups take their place. The network bends, but rarely breaks completely. It heals itself, as if the ocean refuses to stay dry for long. Failures, though frustrating, are also clarifying. They show you what life feels like without the hum. They reveal how dependent you have become on invisible waves. Without them, you cannot reach across oceans. Without them, you cannot navigate the streets. Without them, silence grows heavy. The ocean is no longer luxury. It is necessity. But failures also remind you of the older frequencies. Even when towers fall, lightning still hums. The earth still resonates. The auroras still glow. The human ocean may falter, but the natural ocean persists. Silence is never absolute. The universe always hums. Imagine sitting in your home during a storm. The lights flicker, then fail. The router falls dark. The phone loses its connection. For a moment, you are cut off. No voices from afar. No maps, no news, no songs drifting in. You hear only the rain, only the wind, only the thunder rolling across the night. It feels like absence, but it is also a kind of return to older rhythms, to older waves, to the hum of nature. In those moments, you may notice things forgotten. The sound of your own breath, the crackle of candlelight, the quiet rhythm of your heart. The invisible ocean of humanity may pause, but the ocean of existence continues. You are reminded of both, and yet the failures do not last. The lights return. The router wakes. The towers breathe again. The ocean surges back, filling the silence as if it had never been gone. You return to your habits, to your connections, to the comfort of endless signals. But part of you remembers the pause. Part of you remembers what silence felt like. There is humility in this memory. It teaches you that nothing is permanent, that every wave depends on fragile wires, on satellites in orbits, on machines that age, on systems that fail. And yet, humanity persists, forever rebuilding, forever layering new waves upon the old. Failures are not just inconveniences. They are glimpses into the future. You reveal how deeply the ocean will continue to shape life, because the response to silence is always the same. to rebuild the hum, to deepen the ocean, to ensure it never disappears again. And so you look ahead to a time when the ocean will grow even denser, when signals will become faster, when networks will blur into something more seamless than ever before. Failures will still occur, but the determination to overcome them will always remain, because humanity no longer imagines a world without the hum. It imagines only how the hum might deepen, and as you drift into this thought, the silence of failure transforms into the possibility of tomorrow. A future where new signals rise, new technologies hum, new layers of the invisible ocean spread across the earth. The failures of today are the seeds of tomorrow's chorus. Asterisk, the failures of today remind you how fragile the hum can be. A blackout, a dropped call, a brief silence where signals vanish. But silence never lasts for long. The ocean always returns, and each time it does, it grows wider, deeper, more intricate. This is the silent future. Look ahead, and you can already sense it. The towers of today grow smaller, more numerous. They no longer stand alone, but cluster in every neighborhood. Breathing signals closer, faster, more precise. 5G has already arrived. A layer of the ocean designed not for distant voices, but for immediacy machines speaking to machines. Cars whispering directions to each other. Sensors in cities adjusting lights and flows in real time. The chorus grows faster, the harmony more complex. Beyond 5G lies something stranger. Networks built not on simple waves, but on quantum entanglement. Imagine signals that do not travel across distance, but arrive instantly, everywhere, without delay. The air may seem silent still, but beneath the silence lies a revolution of speed. The invisible ocean becoming more like thought itself, immediate, simultaneous, beyond the patience of waiting. The future will not be marked only by towers, it will be carried by things even smaller, even closer. Tiny devices stitched into clothing, woven into walls, planted into fields, circulating in hospitals, each one breathing signals, each one adding ripples to the ocean. The map of tomorrow is not just over cities, it is within them, beneath them, inside every object, woven into the fabric of daily life. Imagine a streetlight that senses your presence and brightens softly as you pass. A car that listens to traffic around it, adjusting its speed like a polite voice in a crowded room. A home that glows with invisible awareness, not only reacting to your commands, but anticipating them. The future hum will be quieter, to notice, but deeper in reach. You will no longer log in. You will simply exist within it. Asterisk, but there is another layer still. The silent future belongs not only to humanity, but to machines. Already, algorithms listen to the ocean of signals. They sift, sort, and decide in silence. Your messages flow through servers that answer without voices. Your searches return from machines that do not sleep tomorrow. These silent partners will become louder in influence, though still voiceless. They will speak not to you, but to each other. Billions of conversations, billions of signals exchanged, without ever stirring the air with sound. The invisible ocean will be not just human voices, but machine to machine, whispers, constant, tireless, unfelt. Asterisk, this raises a question. What happens when silence becomes too full? Already, the spectrum strains. Frequencies crowd one another. Shadows in competition reveal the limits. The future will demand new solutions. Signals carried not only by radio waves, but by light itself. Lasers through the sky. Fiber woven beneath oceans. Photons dancing in silence. The hum will diversify, spreading into every possible channel, every possible medium. The ocean is not bound to air alone. It spreads into glass, into vacuum, into whatever space will hold it. Asterisk, and above all, the satellites will multiply. Constellations of thousands, tens of thousands, circling in endless orbits. The night sky will change. The stars of nature will share space with stars of invention. The hum will stretch across every desert, every ocean, every mountain valley. There will be no shadows left. This future may seem overwhelming. It's a silence crowded with signals, the air layered with currents. It's a world wrapped in invisible fabric. But there is calm in it too. It's because just as you live now inside the hum without noticing, you will live then inside an even deeper hum, and it will feel no different. The silence will remain silent to your ears. The waves will remain unseen to your eyes. The ocean will continue to pass through you without sound, without touch. You will still sleep within it, will still dream inside it. The silent future will feel to your senses exactly like the silent present, and yet the presence of it will shape you more than ever. Your work, your rest, your travel, your safety, all will lean more heavily upon the hum. You will belong to it completely, as it belongs to you. Pause for a moment and imagine this tomorrow. A world where signals never falter, where silence is never absence, where every step you take is traced by a quiet, visible map. It may seem strange, but in truth, you already live in this ocean. The future is only more of what is already here, an endless deepening. And so, the meditation continues. From the first sparks of telegraphs, to the chorus of towers, to the breath of routers, to the hum of satellites, to the murmurs of electricity, to the shadows, the competition, and finally, the resonance of your own body. It has always been the same story, an ocean that fills the air, a silence that is not silence, a chorus that hums without sound. And even in the future, when 5G becomes memory, when quantum links become ordinary, when satellites form endless constellations, the essence will remain unchanged. You will still be immersed. You will still be part of the hum. You will still live in the silent ocean. Close your eyes. Breathe. Imagine the present. Imagine the future. They are the same. A silence full of signals. A stillness full of movement. An ocean that never stops flowing. The silent future is not something waiting for you. It is already here. It is already passing through you. It is already humming. And as you rest within this thought, you realize there may never again be true silence. Only the endless hum, the endless ocean, the endless presence of signals you will never hear. And perhaps that is not a burden, but a comfort that even as you drift, even as you sleep, the hum will hold you endlessly, silently, forever. Asterisk, you might imagine that at some point the chorus would grow tired, that the towers would rest, that the satellites would drift silently, that the wires would cease their murmur. But they do not, even in the darkest hours of the night. Even when the streets are empty, even when the world seems still, the humming continues. The city never sleeps. And even if it did, the signals would not. Close your eyes and imagine yourself drifting into rest. The room feels quiet. Your breath slows. The weight of sleep begins to carry you. But above you, around you, through you, the city is alive with currents. Towers exchange messages with towers. Its routers exhale their steady pulses. Taste satellites cast invisible threads across oceans. Electricity hums in wires, in rails, in bulbs. It is a chorus without pause, a song that never takes a breath. If you could hear it, if your ears were tuned to the hum, you would never know silence again. The world would sound like a vast, unending tone, but you are spared this weight. To you, silence feels complete. The hum is hidden, silent, patient. It continues without your noticing, without your permission, without your awareness. The hum is not for you. It simply is. And yet, it belongs to you all the same, because every part of your life rests upon it. The signals carry your messages. The currents hold your lights. The frequencies bind your cities. Without the hum, you would stumble with it. You move easily, unthinking, unaware. The hum is the foundation of your silence. Think of the city as a body. Its towers are bones, its wires are veins, its routers are lungs, its satellites are distant eyes. The hum is its heartbeat, steady, patient, endless, and you live inside that body. Cradled by its rhythm, carried by its invisible song. Even in the stillest moments, the hum remains. At 3 in the morning, when most have fallen asleep, a nurse checks a patient's chart. A pilot crosses a darkened ocean. A message is sent quietly across continents. Each depends on the hum. Each becomes another note in the endless song. The city sleeps lightly, but the hum never does. There is comfort in this constancy. No matter where you are, no matter what time it is, the hum holds you. It never vanishes. It never forgets. It never pauses. You may drift into sleep, but the hum continues its watch, like a tide that never recedes, like a breath that never ends. It is tempting to imagine an end, a moment when the towers all fall silent, when the satellites drift dark, when the wires carry no more current. But such silence would be unthinkable now. The world has woven itself into the hum too deeply. Even if one thread breaks, another rises to replace it. Even if one voice fades, another enters the chorus. The hum is endless, not because it cannot fail, but because it is always rebuilt. Because humanity cannot live without it anymore. And yet, the hum is not only human. The earth hums still. The storms send spherics through the air. The Schumann resonances ripple like a planetary heartbeat. The auroras glow in silence above the poles. Long before human voices joined the ocean, nature was humming. Long after, it will continue. The chorus is endless because it is older than you, because it belongs to more than you. Pause now. Listen. To the silence around you, it seems empty, it seems final, but within it, the hum persists. You may not hear it, may not feel it, but it is there. Always imagine the hum as a blanket. Covers cities, wraps neighborhoods, settles into homes. It does not press too tightly. It does not weigh heavily. Simply rests. Steady, soft, constant. You sleep within it, just as you sleep beneath the air. Just as you sleep beneath the stars. And when you wake, the hum will be there still, waiting, carrying, endless. You may forget it in the rush of daylight. You may ignore it in the noise of streets. But the hum is faithful. It does not leave, even as your thoughts scatter, even as your routines fill. The hum continues, an invisible current flowing through every moment of your life. So the journey circles back from the first sparks of telegraphs to the voices of radios, to the chorus of towers, to the breath of routers, to the satellites above, to the murmurs of electricity, to the shadows, the competition, to the resonance of your own body, to the silence of signals without sound, to the hidden frequencies of nature, to the failures, to the future, was always the same hum. It was always the same ocean. You were always inside it, and you always will be. Close your eyes. Let the silence settle. Know that silence is never truly silent, because beneath it, around it, through it, calm continues, endless, invisible, infinite. And as you drift into rest, calm will carry you just as it always has, just as it always will. The city does not sleep. The world does not sleep. The hum does not sleep. It is here. It is now. It is forever.